Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. A major step up in competition awaits Purdue this weekend as the USC Trojans come to town. Purdue enters as a heavy underdog, just over 3 touchdowns. But can it pull off the upset? We'll take a final look back at the win over Southern Illinois, look at Saturday's matchup in depth against Southern Cal, take a glance around the Big Ten, answer some of your questions, and more here on today's show. A lot to get to. I'm excited. If you don't already, be sure to follow the show on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. We'll be talking about every game all throughout the season on there. And send in questions. You can do so there on Twitter, @BoilersBeyond. You can email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be here every week from now, have been here every week since the start of August, all the way through the end of basketball season and beyond. Subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. I got done my rewatch with Southern Illinois shortly after recording the post-game episode. I spent my Sunday afternoon getting that knocked out. You know, it was a mixed bag from Ryan Brown. I thought he had more misses in this game than in the Ball State game. On the first drive of the game, he had Armad Branch running deep down the right sideline, and had he led him enough, it would have been a touchdown, but the ball was underthrown a little bit, and Branch wasn't able to make a contested catch there. There was a throw to his left, second half, going to the other side, where I can't remember if it was Nitro Tuggle or Michael Jackson or who it was, but the receiver got turned around, and the catch probably still should have been made. There was a lot of space there to be had. It's a 15, 20-yard gain, but the receiver gets turned around in the air and drops the pass. Just some anecdotal stuff. There were a handful of misses high. I thought he had one where he had an out route that was just late and the defender broke it up. A mixed bag. Some inconsistent play from him, but there were some nice throws in there. There really were. And the guy plays hard. You watch him out there. He plays with great enthusiasm. He plays with great passion. It's very easy to see how he's won the locker room, how his teammates have bought in. When Devin Mockabee took that direct snap at the 1-yard line and powered it in for the touchdown out of the Wildcat formation, Brown's lined up there on the sideline at wide receiver. And there's no one on the field more excited that Mockabee scored that touchdown than Ryan Brown. He's fired up. He's hyping up Devin Mockabee. You can see his enthusiasm. You can see why Purdue likes him so much, and that's a great trait for a quarterback to have. It really is. It's a really positive thing when your quarterback is a vocal and emotional leader. Now, you have to hope that stays a positive thing, because that can go the other way on you quick too when times aren't as good. But everything you've seen for the most part from Ryan Brown is a positive so far. Remember, this is only 4 career starts for him. So yeah, there are some inconsistent throws in there. There are some decisions that, like that deep ball he threw that got picked off, that you want back. But as a whole, through 2 games, if you had been told before the Ball State game this is what you'd have from Ryan Brown through 2 games, I think everyone in their right mind would have taken it. Purdue ran the ball for 200 yards. It really had to scratch and claw to get there. I'm very curious to see what the run game looks like for Purdue against better competition, because yes, Purdue ran the ball for over 200 yards. Purdue ran the ball 53 times. Purdue, through 2 games, is sitting right around 4.1 yards per carry against Ball State and Southern Illinois. Yards per carry isn't the best stat in the world because it can get pretty skewed early on in the season through a game or two, but Purdue's not ripping off a ton of explosives. So I'm very curious to see on a down-to-down basis what that looks like, because it was interesting that Purdue didn't utilize a ton of the short passing stuff. I have a feeling we're going to see more of that here. If Purdue can't get the traditional run game to a 4-yard per carry clip, you got to utilize that short passing game, get the defense spread out a little bit. That way you can run the ball. It's a holistic approach on offense. Purdue's going to have to do some interesting things. But what we saw in the Southern Illinois game was a lot of stuff downfield, a lot of shots downfield. I'm curious to see if that continues as we go into Purdue playing Southern Cal, Purdue playing Notre Dame, these better opponents where you may not have the advantages out wide against a secondary that you do against Ball State and against Southern Illinois. Purdue was never in real danger of losing that game. It really just wore Southern Illinois out physically. That lined up with exactly what I saw in real time when I rewatched it. But there was some good fortune in there. That pass interference call that extended Purdue's first drive, Devin Mockabee was going down the right sideline. I'm not sure where that pass interference call came from. That there wasn't really anything there. That was fortunate for Purdue because Purdue scores on that drive. Same deal with a roughing the passer call on Purdue's second drive. That was a third down play that Purdue threw a bit of a jump ball down the sidelines to a back shoulder that wasn't there. Brown gets hit late. Next play, he finds Nitro Tuggle for a touchdown. In the second half, Purdue's up 24-14. Brown throws that interception on the first drive, and then DJ Williams has a pass catcher out on a wheel route wide open, and he overthrows it. I think Monty Powell was in coverage a decent bit behind him, and if that ball's on the money, that's a really big gain that maybe shifts some momentum a little bit at a time where Southern Illinois could have captured it. I don't know that Purdue was ever going to lose that game. I think Purdue is a good enough team, a sound enough group to not be in that position. But Purdue did benefit from some good fortune. And with that being said, though, Purdue did a great job of not putting itself in compromising positions. Just 2 penalties. You had the 1 turnover, but just 1 turnover. Purdue played a pretty clean game, and because of that, you're able to really take advantage of your opponent's mistakes. And in the return game, Michael Jackson was back there. He's got a little juice, man. He did some good things there. The return game's tricky because it's almost being legislated out of college football. You've had to see the NFL drastically change the rules to make kickoffs more entertaining again. I hope college never goes to that. That's almost making a mockery of it. But the NFL's the NFL. Purdue would love to get some more out of the return game, though. It's been an area that Purdue has really struggled in for a long time. Purdue has 1 kickoff return for a touchdown since 2013. Hasn't returned a punt for a touchdown since 2009. You'd love to see that. And while a touchdown's not everything, if Michael Jackson can rip off some big ones, that really helps you here. Get your offense started, get yourself in a good position. But Purdue's 2-0 now, heading into USC as competition gets a lot more difficult. This is going to be the 5th all-time meeting between Purdue and USC, possibly the biggest game in program history. The 1967 Rose Bowl. Purdue takes down Southern Cal in Pasadena on New Year's Day of 67. USC scores a touchdown late to make it 14-13. It goes for 2. It gets broken up, and Purdue wins the game, winning the Rose Bowl there with Bob Greasy, with Leroy Keys. A really good era of Purdue football there under Jack Mollenkopf. Since then, USC sweeps a home-and-home in the mid-70s. 1998 season opener, the Pigskin Classic, out there at the LA Coliseum. Drew Brees' first start at Purdue. Boilermakers got beat in that one, so USC leads the series 3-1. This will be the first meeting between the two as members of the Big Ten Conference. USC comes into this one 2-0, a pair of blowout wins over group of 5 teams to get the season started. USC hung 73 on Missouri State week 1, cruising 73-13. That was Missouri State's first game as an FBS member. Not quite ready for a Lincoln Riley offense. And then last week, a little Clay Helton revenge game as his Georgia Southern Eagles went out there and lost 59-20 in the Coliseum. USC's putting up some big numbers. Right there, they're 66 points per game, over 600 yards of offense so far. I'm not expecting 66 points. I'm not expecting 600 yards of offense on Saturday, but this is a very good offense. It's a Lincoln Riley system. It's year 4 for him out there. Again, interesting results so far. He's 28-14, and that probably hasn't lived up to the expectations that Southern Cal fans had for him when they hired him away from Oklahoma after the 2021 season. He went 55-10 in 5 years at Oklahoma. He has not had that same level of success. Now, to be fair, his first year, Caleb Williams got hurt in the Pac-12 title game against Utah. If Caleb Williams doesn't get hurt there, USC probably wins that game and goes to the college football playoff, and it's a little bit different of a conversation. It's a little bit different now that you're in the Big Ten compared to the Pac-12. It just looks a little bit different, but this is a great offense. Lincoln Riley's one of the best offensive minds in the country. The proof is in the pudding with what he did with so many different quarterbacks at Oklahoma, what he did with Caleb Williams. Last year was interesting that it didn't work for Miller Moss, who's now at Louisville with Jeff Brom, and is off to a rough start there. If Lincoln Riley and Jeff Brom can't win with you, it might be a quarterback thing there. But the defense got a lot better. That was the big knock on USC in his first 2 seasons, was the defenses with Alex Grinch were, right? It was Alex Grinch, I believe. Just were not good enough. We're not close to good enough. They were not competitive. He went out and got D'Anton Lynn, a really nice defensive coordinator who came across town from UCLA. The defense improved a lot. The offense didn't click. So USC went 7-6 last year. Now, with Jaden Maiava and with a better defense, USC is dreaming of playoff contention this year. Jaden Maiava is probably the most interesting storyline coming into this game. He's the quarterback for USC. He burst onto the scene as a freshman in 2023, doing so at UNLV for Barry Odom out in Las Vegas. He threw for 3,000 yards, earned second-team all-conference honors. He was named Mountain West Freshman of the Year. And then he opted to transfer to USC, knowing that he probably wouldn't be the starter, that he would probably sit behind Miller Moss, which he did until the final 4 games of last season. He became the starter. USC finished on a nice end, and he comes into this year as a starter with a couple of really nice performances under his belt so far, albeit against lesser competition. The familiarity angle is always one that can be debated until the cows come home. How much does it help that Barry Odom's a little familiar with Jaden Maiava? How much does it help that Josh Henson, Purdue's offensive coordinator, comes from USC, where he wasn't the play caller the way he is at Purdue, but he was with Lincoln Riley. He was in the meeting rooms with that offense every single day. That familiarity, if you ask me, can be a little bit overrated at times, but anything helps. You're not complaining about it. It's better than not having that familiarity. But where I caution a little bit is just that Lincoln Riley's so good at scheming stuff up that his quarterbacks really don't, I don't want to say they don't have to do a ton because they still have to go out and execute, but Lincoln Riley does a really good job of getting guys open, of giving his quarterback easy reads to just get the ball out, get the chains moving, and at that point, the downfield stuff starts to open up. He's as good as it gets, man. He's taken a lot of heat out there, rightfully so. We don't know exactly what he's getting paid, but it's a lot, to the point where it sounds like he's unfireable. He's a really good coach. I'm excited to sit up high and watch what he does with his offensive scheme stuff, with route trees and with pass protection and things like that. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. Mayava's off to a great start, too. He's got a couple of really nice receivers with Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. They didn't go out and get a ton out of the portal this year, especially on the offensive side. I think that tells you a good amount about what they feel they have in the pass game. They're running the ball well, less than stellar competition again. It is interesting, though. The offensive line is a question mark. USC was really hoping that DJ Wingfield would get an extra year of eligibility granted to play guard for them. If that name sounds familiar, he's been at Purdue the last couple years. Played guard there, and he entered the portal hoping to get an extra year of eligibility granted. It got denied a couple weeks before the season started. DJ Wingfield was all right, but if you have college football playoff aspirations and you're really counting on him to be a big contributor, it does raise some questions about the offensive line. I don't think it's a great group. I don't know if Purdue can exploit that or not. We'll see. Only a couple punts for USC so far in the season. It's hard to gauge much, right? The where we're at in the season is really tricky. If you haven't played a power conference team or a really good group of 5 team, there's just not a good data point on you. And for both Purdue and USC, there are a lot of questions about how they stack up in a situation like this, about how they stack up against a fellow power conference opponent. It's going to be a real measuring stick opportunity for Purdue. And I know Barry Odom and the coordinators didn't want to use that language when they got asked about it in the Monday press conference, but it's absolutely a measuring stick opportunity because we don't know. We don't know what Purdue looks like yet against a power conference opponent. Now, Purdue's more than a 3-touchdown underdog for a reason. Last I saw it was sitting at 21, 22 and a half, somewhere in there. That's a big spread. There's a lot to question here, though. It's fair that Purdue is that big of a dog. Vegas isn't usually crazy in these things. You saw Southern Illinois hit some passes downfield last week. There were some other opportunities that were missed, and that's something that USC is very good at exploiting. Last week, it looked to me like Purdue's coverage busts, for the most part, came in zone coverage. Can you go man with these guys, though? You can go man against Southern Illinois. You can go man against Ball State. Can you sit back and play man against USC, against Lincoln Riley's offense all the time? I don't know. That's a big ask. If you're out there playing man when you're not capable of playing man, you just saw what that looked like the last 2 years. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. How well can Purdue move the ball on offense? How well can Purdue control the ball on offense? The number, I just pulled it up, 3.7 yards per carry through 2 games. That stat is not everything. That stat does include sack losses, so take it for what it's worth. It's a little higher than that. But if Purdue struggles to run the ball on Saturday, in the traditional sense, there was some foreshadowing here. Ryan Brown changes things because he is comfortable running with his legs, using his legs to extend plays to get first downs. He did a really great job at extending plays with his feet against Southern Illinois. I was really impressed there. He does some good things. He really does. But Purdue can't afford to be in 3rd and long situations because at that point, USC can drop back into a shell. It can put a spy on Ryan Brown and say, all right, go throw it over us. I don't know that at this point in Ryan Brown's career that he's ready to go out and win you a game like that, throwing it 40 to 50 times. Maybe he is. Maybe I'll be wrong. But if you're Purdue, you would rather not have to do that, not have to go down that road. Lincoln Riley's a lightning rod. I think anytime you make a high-profile move the way he did, and I don't know that he could have handled it a whole lot differently, but early indicators through 2 games here, doesn't look like he's too afraid of running it up. I mean, you put 73 on a team. You're not afraid to run up the score a little bit. He's got some pressure on him, not as much job pressure as it is just feeling good about where you're at pressure. It wouldn't surprise me if USC has a good day here on Saturday, that it doesn't necessarily call off the dogs, that it tries to push the score a little bit. Going to be a lot of love for Gary Danielson on the broadcast. This is his last season doing color commentary for CBS. There may not be another Purdue home game, maybe not another Purdue game altogether that gets the CBS 3:30 slot, though there are some. Maybe Ohio State, maybe Illinois in there. Going to be cool. Obviously a Purdue alum there who's had just a wonderful broadcasting career. I'll always think of him as the SEC on CBS, but he wraps up his career here doing the Big Ten games there. He'll get a little send-off, I'm sure. And then Purdue's honoring the 2000 Rose Bowl team, 25th anniversary on Saturday. Did see where Drew Brees is going to be in the house. A ton of players. That's going to be really cool. A ton of players are going to be back from that. I'll be curious to see if they have any tributes, if they do a throwback jersey or anything like that. I have no clue, but that'll be really cool. That'll be a fun deal. It's a massive challenge for Purdue, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. There's a reason this is a 3-touchdown spread. I like USC. I think this is a pretty good USC team. If USC hits, I think it can compete for a playoff spot. I do. I think that's real. Can Purdue keep this close? Is Purdue ready to do that? Because that would tell me a lot. USC has a lot of talent. USC has a high-flying offense. If Purdue can keep up a little bit and keep this thing interesting into the third, fourth quarter, I think you feel really good about that. And while the conversation of moral victories is never a particularly fun one, there's some solace to take in knowing that you're not terribly far off. If Purdue's right there, then I think the outlook of the season gets a little bit different, gets a little bit rosier. No pun intended. I'm not quite insinuating California yet, but I think you like what Purdue has more if it has a real ability to compete with USC, play this thing close late. We'll see, man. We'll see. It's a big opportunity here for Purdue to show where it is against a good opponent a year after these situations really just were non-competitive. September means lots of things. The return of football season has us all excited. Pumpkin-scented candles are everywhere. Leaves are beginning to fall, and the weather is starting to turn. It's also Life Insurance Awareness Month. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, my biggest passion is ensuring that my clients have the proper amounts and proper types of life insurance. Give me a call at 317-846-5861 or email me at jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com. Let's make sure your family and your world are properly protected. Had a couple of questions come in here. One of them, what is one game on the schedule that you think Purdue could pull off a surprise victory? He gave me out of USC, Illinois, at Washington, and Indiana, and then to an even greater extent at Notre Dame and Ohio State. I guess I'll go with Illinois and Indiana for the first part, just kind of lumped together there. I take it Minnesota's not an option. I take it Rutgers and Northwestern aren't an option here. Purdue gets Illinois and Indiana both at home inside Ross-Ade Stadium, and both of them are coming off bye weeks for Purdue. That's a nice benefit. That's a nice benefit to have. You're getting 2 weeks to prepare for these teams that are both very good, are both good, solid teams, but they're not the elite talent rosters of a Notre Dame, of an Ohio State, teams like that. I worry about Purdue keeping up with USC. Now, I'll note, to be completely fair here, USC really struggled last year when traveling east. It lost to Minnesota, it lost to Michigan, it lost to Maryland. None of those teams were world beaters, and Maryland was flat out bad last year. So, we'll see. That Washington game's in an awful spot. You're going out west. It's your 7th game in 7 weeks, coming off of Michigan and Ohio State back-to-back. That's a brutal scheduling spot. I think if you look at the most likely games for Purdue to win from here on out, I'd go Northwestern, Rutgers, Minnesota, then Illinois and Indiana in there, and then you kind of fill in the rest. How do you see the offense having success on Saturday? Is it through the air or on the ground? And then I had kind of a similar question. What should Odom be focusing on as it relates to an offensive game plan versus USC? Yeah, I really don't know how much Barry Odom does with the offensive game planning. Josh Henson calls the plays. I'm not too sure how involved Odom is on some of that. A lot of that you never really know completely. I think your biggest deal for Josh Henson here, Purdue can't be one-dimensional. You can't rely solely on the passing game here. I don't know that Ryan Brown's ready for that. I don't know. There were some games that Purdue won with Aiden O'Connell where it was completely one-dimensional. I don't know that Purdue's ready to do that with Ryan Brown. Purdue didn't run the ball tremendously well. It's done enough to make it work. There are some workarounds, right? You can get things going in the short passing game. Ryan Brown can get involved on some quarterback keepers. We haven't really seen Purdue use end-around looks yet, but it's bluffed it. You can do some things to try to get the ground game going. Something's got to happen there because you can't be a one-trick pony here when you're a 3-touchdown underdog. It's going to be important for Purdue to find a way to run the ball with some success early on. This year, I'm trying to stay good about kind of keeping an eye on the rest of Purdue's schedule, keeping an eye on the Big Ten. It's been an interesting start to the season for the Big Ten. The bottom of the conference has some really big question marks, some really rough looks so far. UCLA is a mess. Rallying late to lose by 7 at UNLV. Not a great loss there. Not a great loss at all. Purdue probably really wishes it had UCLA this year because I don't know what the path is for Deshaun Foster. I don't know that program is really ready to be in the Big Ten from an investment level. There are real question marks I have about what's going on out there in Westwood. Northwestern, Rutgers, Maryland, still a lot to be desired there. It's still early. We're only 2 weeks in. Teams do get better, but the bottom of the league is not particularly good. We'll see what Wisconsin looks like once Billy Edwards returns at quarterback, but Danny O'Neill here from Indianapolis has not been great so far as he's been filling in for Edwards. It's a 3-team competition up top. It's Ohio State, it's Penn State, it's Oregon. They have the horses. They have the next gear that no one else in the league does. There are some good teams right behind them. Illinois, Indiana. That's a massive game here in 2 weeks. That's a night game in Bloomington, Illinois versus Indiana. It is not a college football playoff elimination game, but the loser of that has a really difficult path to getting to the college football playoff. I think Michigan has a pretty high floor. I think it probably has a pretty limited ceiling. You saw it last week. The lack of pass catchers is real. Minnesota at Cal. That's a big one to watch this week. Minnesota blew out, I think, Northwestern State last week. Hard to gauge a whole lot. That's a good game. Cal looks better than preseason expectations. But if Minnesota can go out and get that done, I do think you feel pretty good about the Gophers as a solidified bowl team, as a team that can sneak up on some folks in Big Ten play. It is hard. It's hard to get a good feel on all these teams, especially there haven't been a ton of big games so far. involving Big Ten teams. We had Ohio State, Texas. We had Michigan, Oklahoma. Michigan State had a wild one last week against Boston College. Nebraska had the season opener, but not a ton of big games so far. That's going to start changing here in the next week or two. I think if you're Purdue, your goal is to stay out of the basement this year. I think you like where you're at there through 2 weeks, but as they say, it's about to get real here. It's about to get really real for Purdue. We'll see what happens on Saturday, guys. Safe travels to everyone who is headed to West Lafayette for the game. I am looking forward to seeing where Purdue stacks up, see how far Purdue has to go, or if Purdue's pretty significantly ahead of schedule and can give USC a run for its money. Again, safe travels to those heading in. I appreciate you all listening to the show. I'll be back here on Sunday with an instant reaction, immediate thoughts about what goes on inside Ross-Ade Stadium. Until then, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow the show on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. Send me your questions. I look forward to talking to you guys on Sunday. Until then, enjoy the game and take care.